Hey MGTOWs, this is Vincent. I've got two things I'd like to address in this video. First, the my MGTOW mobile over there is not able to run. I basically try to crank it with the key switch and the ignition comes on just fine, but the engine will not crank. So and then of course through poor planning, I don't have any gas in that one. And so I had to go to Sherry's with my dad in his old beater van over there. That's okay, it got us there. um, so basically now I'm going to troubleshoot this electrical issue, and I'm also going to address a problem in MGTOW. It could be a problem. We've got we've got a situation where we've got a corporate media that basically makes it pretty much invisible whenever black on white violence occurs. Um, so basically, it looks pretty much invisible, but every time white on black violence or a cop shoots a black guy or something, it's like all over the media. They've got a real axe to grind on here. But if you look at the FBI statistics, it's clearly the body count clearly for white people is greater than black people, as opposed to the reverse, right? Um, Supposedly, I think it was 2015 or 2013, um, like over 400 white people were killed by blacks, and less than 200 were blacks killed by whites, right? But that never really shows up in the news. And I'm concerned that some of our black brothers in the MGTOW movement are starting to get the impression that like it's this endless parade of white on black violence and cops killing black people and stuff like that. And it's just the stats don't really the stats don't really pan out as far as that goes, and it's unfortunate that they're being their emotions are being triggered by the corporate media, and of course I risk being labeled a racist whenever I try to bring a little perspective into this, and bringing up stats and whatnot. And sometimes sometimes the the manipulation is so deep that they will not even listen to stats. They say, well, those are corrupt statistics, and in which case, there's no logical argument that I can bring forward to sort of smooth things out, and it's just unfortunate. In which case, we're just going to lose. We've lost MGTOW like that, and they leave, and man, a couple of them. I seem to remember a couple of years ago, one of these black MGTOW just went crazy and ended up changing his channel to this like evil white devil channel, and it was this crazy thing. I tried to stay subscribed for a time, but man, it was starting to get depressing. So I had to let him go. But basically, it was just a sad situation. So, and then recently, the straight shooter, I think it was yesterday, made a video about how he was concerned that there would be white on black violence when he and four white women went to a country bar. Now I've got to admit, he might have a point there. If you want violence, a good place to find it is where a bunch of hillbillies are getting drunk. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, and he was probably wise to stay out of there. For example, if I was dating a black woman, I would not go smooching on her right on a street corner in the hood, right out in front of a convenience store where they're selling drugs and stuff. I mean, it's quite conceivable that some blue pill tribalistic black guy would get angry that I was taking one of his women, and then I would end up being a statistic, but I would never, even if I was killed, I would never even show up in the news. You have to be black in order for your victimization to show up in the news for a large percentage of the time anyway. But so it's just like standard procedure, you know, just don't ask for trouble. Don't go to a country bar. And he was very wise not to do that, because there's a bunch of dumb shits in there, and when you add alcohol to the mix, man, I wouldn't even go in there. They'd probably smell the geekness on me, and they'd say, "Oh, it's a geek. This is just like junior high. Woohoo, get him." Then I'd be locked in my wall locker again. "Oh man, that was a bitch and a half. Let me out." Okay, well, that's neither here nor there. I'm a lot bigger now. So anyway, let's troubleshoot this starting problem. We've got a situation where the key turns on and you get the buzz for the seat belts and the dash lights come on, and the heater comes on, so we've got ignition power. Then I tried to crank it and got nothing. So let's look at a typical starting circuit and then do a troubleshoot. So let's start out with a mock-up or a little diagram. Oh, here, let me bang on the phone so it'll focus here. Sorry about this. Well, not the perfect focus. Okay. Well, anyway, you got the starter right here. It has to be grounded. But let's start from the start, right? You turn the key switch, and what that does is it grounds one side of the starter relay. And you have to have a good ground on the switch. Then when you turn it, this side drops to ground. Now, the starter relay should have 12 volts on one side of it. So basically, as soon as you close this switch, it grounds it. Power flows from positive here through the relay, and then it turns a coil, and then power flows from say 30 here, which is usually the supply, and then it goes to this. As soon as this coil is energized, it closes the switch between here and here. Then power flows from here to the signal side of your starter relay. It goes through a coil, and then the magnet, it's a coil around a big magnet, and that pulls a big spring-loaded switch closed, and that connects power from the battery. You can see that the one big huge wire, and that basically connects it to a wire that comes out of the back of the starter solenoid and into the motor. Then the motor turns. Now sometimes, depending on the starter, the starter relay also, or the starter solenoid, also pulls this big lever which pushes the Bendix into the flywheel before the switch closes, and then once it's engaged in the flywheel, it'll turn, and then the engine starts turning, and then it starts, right? So a couple of things could be wrong. I could be failing to get failing to get power here. I could have a bad wire here. I could have a bad starter solenoid or a bad starter motor, right? So let's go ahead and begin the troubleshoot. Okay, sorry guys, I had to give it a little bit more attention. I didn't have time to film while I did this. I discovered the signal wire to the starter relay was loose, and I just socked it down. Now I have the power back to the load side, which is, the load side of the relay, and now I can just, there we go. Okay, well, that little mystery is solved. But then again, I didn't check to see if it will still crank. I know that it will run. Let's try it with the relay in. Wouldn't be the first time I've had more than one problem on a job. Okay. Probably don't need that open. Alrighty. Finished. Okay, I'm back. And again, I'm sorry I didn't really detail this this troubleshoot as well as I should have. But it turned out that there was just a little loose screw on the signal side of the starter solenoid, and that screw was like loose, and every once in a while it would just not contact, right? So I grabbed a screwdriver and screwed it down, and now it starts up just fine. Okay, so I don't have to pay a mechanic, thank goodness. That's about probably a couple $100 an hour, and it's and I don't have to buy a new starter, so that's like probably $180 right there. So and I don't have to pay a mechanic shop. So man, if you can do a lot of these things yourself, it is just like having a tax-free source of income that just sort of pours in constantly whenever anything breaks. I mean, a woman or a lot of white-collar guys, they would have to get their car towed to a shop, then have it inspected, then all kinds of crazy things like environmental fees and stuff, and it could wipe out a guy's surplus income for a month. So man, if you can, I highly recommend that if you have like a car that you plan on keeping for a while, I would recommend going to a website or maybe Amazon and looking for a good service manual for your vehicle, and maybe every day just read a chapter on it. And if you can read your service manual cover to cover, man, you will you'll be like miles ahead of average people whenever it comes to any kind of mechanical problem, and it's just money in the bank, dudes. So highly recommend that sort of thing. The beauty of MGTOW is you have time to do these things for the most part. So I guess I'll let you go. Later.